Sport!
Friday at 7 p.m, your weekend sports on Talk Radio Europe with the Friday Sports Bar.
Happy 2013 from the Friday Night Sports Bar team. Thanks for tuning in to the first show for this year. Coming up over the next hour, Andy Murray remains on track down under in the defence of his title in Brisbane. All this in preparation for the Australian Open, just over a week away. The transfer window is now open and Demba Ba gets his big move to Chelsea. NFL fans, stateside, it's the playoffs. They begin tomorrow. Stay tuned and we'll tell you who's there, who isn't. In the studio with me for the first show of 2012, back from his holidays, Stuart Joseph, and of course, Richard Tilsley. Stay tuned for the next hour. This is the Friday Night Sports Bar.
Friday Sports Bar with Dom Ordworth.
Good evening once again. Happy New Year to all of you out there. 2013, hopefully it's a good one for all of you. Gentlemen, a warm welcome back to the studio. Stuart, more importantly, a warm welcome back to you. You've been away on holiday. Happy New Year to you. And Richard, you're hiding behind the computer there. You're sitting in the... I can't see you throughout the show. Mind you, I don't know whether that's a blessing in disguise.
I'm trying to get as far away from Stu as possible.
I know. When he came in, I went to shake his hand, happy holidays, welcome back, Stu. And he said, oh, no, I'm full of cold. And I said, well, goodness me, I'm not going to kiss you, for God's sakes. I'm just shaking your hand. But we've got another...
He obviously was going on past precedent, Dominic.
I do like kissing men of your age, don't you worry about that. Stu, let me just ask you something. You've been in...
So I do want to point out, it is nothing personal, it's just I've got a hot date on the weekend and I don't want to get Stu's flu.
Have you really? When was the last time you had a date? What, a year ago?
Oh, God, I can't remember, Dominic.
Do you remember what you actually have to do on a date?
I can remember, well, parts of it.
Are you going to be picking him or her up, or...? What?
Well, that's what normally happens.
And do you open the car door? Do you...
Well, I'm always the gentleman.
Here's a big one for you. Will you pay or will you go Dutch?
Dominic, as if you even need to ask that question.
Dutch. Okay. Or does she? Does he or her pay?
I know that's probably what you do down in South Africa.
No, of course not. We make the women pay.
You make the women pay?
Yeah, why not? First date?
Well, that's why I never see you with many women, isn't it?
Actually, talking about going Dutch.
No, the thing is, though, okay, no, of course you have to pay for a girl.
I'm just checking. Of course you do. I know. South Africa, we pay for your first date. Well, we're not going to go there, actually, because I might be very offensive, without actually wanting to be offensive, by just trying to be funny, but I'm obviously not that funny tonight. Sorry, carry on.
Keep working on it.
Well, if I hang around with you long enough, then maybe I will develop a sense of humour. But but listen, talk about going Dutch. Yeah. Stu was in Holland, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Visiting his two new grandchildren, twins. That came into the world 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Correct, yeah.
Changing nappies, doing all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But you were based in Amsterdam as well, weren't you?
Just outside Amsterdam, a couple of miles outside the city, yeah.
Near enough to the coffee shops, so.
Yeah?
Not far from the coffee shops, not far.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of coffee do you drink?
I just drink...
When you're in Amsterdam?
White coffee, that is it. No cake.
No cake? No chocolate brownie?
No cake.
No?
Too dangerous there.
Really? I'm just wondering, because your eyes have sort of...
That's my cold.
Yeah, they are a bit glazed over, aren't they?
Cold.
It's my medicines. It's all my medication.
Yeah. Everybody that goes to those coffee shops in Amsterdam comes back with a cold, don't they?
Because if we, at any time, Stu, question your judgment, then obviously we're only going to put it down to one thing. You know that.
Well, if you listen, I get high on life. I don't need to take all that shit.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You see? He goes to Amsterdam, he starts taking drugs, his language changes. I'll tell you what, he's going to be pickpocketing people
he's been on the wacky backy, hasn't he?
I'll tell you what, watch out for Stuart Joseph around the Saturday market, because he'll now be stealing your handbags so he can go to the coffee shops to buy his drugs. Watch out, you be careful for this guy. Bad language, it's all crept in. You've changed. You've changed.
This is where this kind of like distorted reality of Spurs' championship title chances come from, isn't it?
Possibly. Well, he doesn't drink, so it must be from that other stuff. No comment? No?
Nope.
All right, guys. Well, anyway, let's move on. It's a pleasure to have you back, Stu. We've really missed you, and thank you so much for your contribution on the telephone while you were away as well. It's very much appreciated, and nice to see that you had a great time with the family and the grandkids, and left me here all by myself with Richard Tilsley. I was going to say something else, and I completely forgot to direct it towards you.
It's because I'm hiding behind the computer,
You're hiding.
isn't it? It's thrown you tonight.
It's completely and utterly thrown me. Gentlemen, lots to get through tonight. Football, the transfer windows. But let's just first cast our eye back over the festive Premiership fixtures that took place. Manchester United now consolidating some sort of daylight at the top of the table. I know you've done some statistics over the last 5 games of the festive Premiership season, Stu. Let's have a little look at what happened there.
Well, I'm interested to know what Richard thinks, obviously, because we share quite similar views of the Premiership. Manchester United have had
except when it comes to Tottenham.
Apart from it, we'll come to Spurs in a minute. Spurs are doing fine, but United 13 from 15 points. You know, they're really on track to win this championship. They're clear now in the division. I can't see them getting caught myself.
Yeah, and I thought the other thing about United defensively, they look as though they're getting better and better as well.
Yes, they look more of an outfit, and going forward, I think they're always going to score more goals than their opponents. It seems to be the way Fergie's playing at the moment. They're playing so well in midfield. Van Persie looks absolutely terrific.
Well, and to me, I think Van Persie is just the complete player, because people talk about his goals, but what was really fascinating on Match of the Day, it must have been a few weeks ago, they were also highlighting his defensive capabilities as well. And the amount of really, really important defensive headers that Van Persie puts in is absolutely phenomenal. And he in exactly the same way he has, a knack of being in the right place in the opposition's box, he also has a very good sound defensive judgment and sense of positioning as well. I mean, he is, a fantastic player. And when Mancini says that not managing to acquire his services in the summer is the difference between winning and losing the title, I think he's right. No,
absolutely. It reminds me of Roy of the Rovers. Do you remember the comment?
Yeah,
I mean, that's exactly what he seems to be. He's just up there scoring goals all the time.
It's his all-round vision, and the way he has an almost sixth sense of the positioning in the same way that all great players do, and Rooney does as well, and people like Steven Gerrard. But he has an understanding. He always has that sort of 360 sort of peripheral vision of where everyone is and where everyone is moving to, and I think he's. To me, he's the player of the season so far.
Do you know what the problem is? I think he's top of the goal scorer in this with 16 goals at the moment. He seems to be playing better when Rooney's not in the team, because Rooney hasn't played the last 2 or 3 matches.
He hasn't, and news today as well. He's going to be out for a little bit longer as well. Wayne Rooney's injury is going to keep him out, I think for at least another 2 more weeks, apparently.
I don't think that'll be any problem for them, because Rooney wasn't playing that well. In fact, Fergie took him off the last game.
Well, Chicharito, you got him to fall back on as well. He's a top-class player, isn't he?
Plenty of strength there.
Yeah, certainly in the Manchester derby, I thought Rooney had an absolute cracking game, and it almost seems as though he's gone off the boil a little bit, and he put in that extra percent to show everyone he still had it when it came to the City game. But I don't know, was there something wrong with his motivation?
Well, he looks a little bit overweight to me as well. I don't think the dedication is where it was. He's on big money on it. It's a terrible thing to say. When these guys are on this money, they shouldn't need any motivation.
Well, that was certainly, one of the big criticisms of Rooney at the Euros last year. That he came back and, he was huffing and puffing around the field after only 10, 15 minutes, sweating like you or I would, and that's not really the sort
I think he should go on the
level of fitness that you expect from a top-class professional footballer.
Well, he should have gone there match fit. He had plenty of time to get himself ready for the matches. My God, he was, as you say, he was not fit as far as I was concerned.
Well, yeah, he is a smoker as well. Which I think that, to a certain extent, indicates that he has some very poor choices in lifestyle habits.
I think he should go on the cabbage diet myself.
The cabbage diet?
Yeah, everybody goes on that after the Christmas and New Year, don't they?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I'm on the wrong diet then.
I have to be honest. I was wondering what that smell was when we came into the studio.
It wasn't.
I thought the drains had backed up again.
Okay.
United's next 3 matches, Richard. They've got Liverpool at home, Spurs away, Southampton at home. Not Southampton at home. Also not an easy game. Southampton playing really well. Spurs away is going to be a really hard game. I think we can take Manchester United to White Hart Lane. Liverpool at home. Liverpool playing well at the moment. There's still plenty of games to come and go, and I think they're going to be 3 hard games.
We can take Manchester United at home. That's an interesting statement.
Nice one, though.
Well, let's not talk about Manchester United. For
because
it
depends.
It gets a little bit boring, doesn't it? Let's talk about other clubs that performed well over the Christmas period.
Well, Manchester City lost the game. They got 12 out of 15 points. Still, behind Manchester United, but they haven't closed the gap at all. What about Chelsea? 9 from 12. They had a game postponed because they were, playing abroad in the international competition. But they beat Villa 8-0. And the greatest thing about football is they beat Villa 8-0, and 2 weeks later, QPR go to Stamford Bridge and beat them 1-0 the other night. I mean, how do you explain that, Richard?
Harry Redknapp. That's how you explain that. Harry Redknapp.
I think QPR were quite lucky, and I think probably the luckiest person on the pitch was Wright Phillips to still be playing when he scored the goal, because until he scored that goal, his performance was just abject. Absolutely. And when they said he hadn't scored in 54 games, I could understand why.
You weren't surprised. Well, listen, he could only do but score goals. He took his chance. It was a lovely ball that was played to him as well. Can't remember who it was.
Tarat.
Oh,
beautifully weighted pass.
He just took the weight off the ball, put it in front of him. It was just there to be hit.
For me, though, the pass of the festive season was definitely Gerrard's pass the other night.
Oh, my God, how many yards was
Suarez's
that?
first goal.
Fantastic.
I thought, absolutely. I mean, it reminded me of Glenn Hoddle, or in his pomp, or even David Beckham. I thought it was a tremendous ball.
It just opened up the whole of the defence, doesn't it?
Shall we talk about Liverpool very quickly? They made a big signing with the transfer window open. Sturridge from Chelsea. How do you think he's going to fit into that setup there? I was reading in the Daily Mail today that Suarez might have to take a back seat, but how on earth could you put your best player in the back seat? Whoever wrote that was writing a load of nonsense. But a good signing for Liverpool. They need a little bit more than just that.
Well, they'll move Suarez out wide.
Yes, they've got to accommodate both of them. Sturridge is a good player. I like Sturridge. He's like a little Defoe. If you like Defoe, I think you like Sturridge. They're very, very similar players, I think. And Sterling, they've got this winger who's really, really fast, this young boy. I think they're going to be quite a threat in the second half.
Stuart Downing playing some good football now as well.
He's hot and cold. To me, he doesn't buy it from me. 20 million they spent on him, a lot of money.
There was a lot of money.
He hasn't given it back yet. I'll hold my thoughts until the end of the season. He needs to play well every week, not the odd game.
The only thing is, I mean, he is playing in a position to which he is relatively unaccustomed. And I think it takes a player, at least a season to bed into, the responsibilities that come with a change in position. And one of the biggest criticisms of Stuart Downing has been defensively. He's been very suspect, but I think he's getting better and better.
When he's on song, he's a great winger. But Liverpool, over the 5 games, lost 2 of them. They lost to Aston Villa 3-1 at home, which was quite amazing, early in December, and they went to Stoke and got beat 3-1. So they got 9 out of 15 points and stayed steady in the table.
Who were the biggest movers up the table during that period of time?
There wasn't any great big moves. Spurs moved up 2 places. I'm sure Richard would like to talk about Tottenham. They were in 5th when it started, and they moved up to 3rd. Otherwise, everything else really, really static. There's only a couple of places up and down on the whole of the run. Liverpool moved up 2 places as well. A lot of teams stayed exactly where they are. So, the points were shared out quite fairly right the way through. Talking about Tottenham, I thought Tottenham were superb over the holidays. I know there weren't great games. Swansea, Stoke, Villa, Sunderland, Reading, not the best teams in the league, but all they can do is win their matches, and we should have beaten Stoke as well, which we drew at home 1-1, so it cost us 2 points. But I thought Spurs going very well at the moment.
West Brom must be delighted that they came through the Christmas period still in the hunt there, where they're sitting 7th place, 33 points, only a point off Arsenal. They must be pretty pleased with that.
I'm sure they are, but 7 for 15 isn't exactly a good haul when you're chasing honours, personally. And
you're talking about West Brom, though, aren't you?
Yeah, you're talking about West Brom, but they've been playing really, really well. And I think they've dropped off the pace a little bit. When they got beat by Fulham the other day 2-1 at home, the last game they played, I thought that was a really poor performance. I mean, Fulham have been beaten all over the place and dropping points, and I think West Brom should have been better than that. But, you can't knock it. I think everyone at West Bromwich must be delighted with their position at the moment in the table.
Just coming back to Spurs, though, I know we enjoy giving them a bit of a kicking every week, but in fairness to them, they have played some very, very good football, and they are looking, I think, very, very, very strong for that 3rd place in the table. I can't really see them progressing beyond that 3rd place, and I think the worrying thing is that if you're a Spurs fan, is the lack of balance in the team when Bale's out.
Well, we've got to get used to it, because Bale sooner or later is going to go. I don't think he'll be in this window, but probably in the summer. I think they probably will unload him. When I say unload him, I think they just have to, once the agents get on board and once the offers come in for 50, 60 million, I think Spurs will find it very hard not to take that money. But there's other wingers out there.
I think that a lot of teams have made a mistake as to not being too preoccupied as to what they need to do defensively when they play Spurs, rather than, you know, to think about attacking Spurs, because I think you are vulnerable.
Well, without question, Spurs are vulnerable. But I think the teams know that. You say that whenever they come to White Hart Lane in particular. You know, you've got a chance to win the game there because Spurs are an attacking team. They like to attack, and when Bale's in that team, there's no way of playing Bale. You can put one or two men on him; it doesn't matter. If he drifts and he's got the ball and he's running with the ball, you know, it's impossible to stop the man. He's a machine.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're talking about Bale, I suppose the big talking point about him over Christmas has been the amount of yellow cards he's received for diving.
Yeah, but some of them were unfair. I mean, the last one was terrible. I mean, it wasn't a foul at all. The guy just brushed him, and of course he went straight down. It was a genuine foul, and then he got a yellow card.
Well, I don't think it was a foul. I mean,
not at all. Not that one. The last one, I agree with you. It wasn't a foul.
I mean, the majority of them. I think we've got a caller on the line, Dom.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring them in now. If you just bear with me a second. Good evening. Happy 2013. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you and the panel. That Tottenham sport, is he crazy? 50 million for Gareth Bale? You're talking out of your bottom, mate.
Should it be more?
You're having a laugh. 25 at the most.
Oh, you're joking. You must be an Arsenal man.
Oh, well, you would say that. You're Tottenham.
Sorry, your name is?
Keith, can I just ask you?
Keith, sorry, I just wanted to say something, Keith. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show. The steward is the Tottenham fan. He's just come back from holiday in Amsterdam in those coffee shops. That's why he's talking 50.
We think it's affected his brain.
We think his brain's been slightly affected by the coffee shop.
No, but Keith, I'd ask Keith, which player do you think is worth 50 million in today's market?
What, in Britain?
Yeah.
I don't think there is any.
Well, Falcao has to be. I mean, if you're talking about
in Britain.
Oh, in Britain.
Well,
Yeah.
in Britain, he's in Spain.
Yeah. Who do you support, Keith?
Not really a team support. I just like football.
Yeah, no team in particular you like.
Well, I was born in London, so I'm in Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Okay, what about the money Chelsea have paid for some of these great players that, you know, you've got some fabulous players when you've been paying 25, 30 million. You don't think he rates alongside any of the Chelsea boys that are there now?
No, not really.
I'm really surprised. I mean, Sturridge went for 12 or 15 million to Liverpool the other day. I mean, I would honestly say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, he must be worth 3 times the amount.
I think Liverpool have paid silly money.
I agree with you, Keith. I think they paid too much for a very average player.
Well, I think we'll have to split the difference with Gareth Bale. 50, 25, we'll just call it 35, and then you can go back to your coffee shop.
Keith, keep an eye on the transfer market and come back to us when he is sold, because I'm telling you, Mr. Levy will not let him go for less than 50 mil, and he'll go to someone for that money.
No way. Anyway, I've got to go, my battery's going.
Keith, thanks very much indeed for your call. Have a great year.
I think what it illustrates, though, is that the transfer market for British players is completely overinflated.
Completely.
Especially when you see some of the bargains that you can get abroad. I mean, and we were talking about the young Spanish striker, Iasco Argas, for Celta Vigo, just being called up to the Spanish national squad. And, I mean, he's available for 8.2.
Hang on, what about Michu, who went to Swansea for 2 or 3 million?
Yeah.
I mean, my God, what a buy that was.
I mean, Arsene Wenger's saying that the Japanese market is full of talented players as well. That's not going to cost a lot of money. I'd like to just go back to the Gareth Bale situation and the transfer window. Do you not see this as a really good opportunity for the Tottenham Hotspur board to maybe bring somebody in that could ultimately replace Gareth Bale?
Now, I don't know.
Well, they're talking about Moutinho.
Yes, but he's not a Gareth Bale, though, is he? He's not a Gareth Bale.
I mean, you don't really want to wait to sell him and then bring somebody in at the same time. I mean, you ideally would to have a player of a similar kind of player that could, you know, grow with the team and until that time that Bale is ready to go or they're ready to cash in on him.
I'm not sure that the players are out there, do you know, when you say that? I mean, we watch the European football and everything. I'm sure they are out there, but these scouts, you know, it's full-time occupation. But, you know, will you find another Gareth Bale? I mean, they don't come along every day.
Well, I mean, you're kind of overrating him a little bit, Stu. I mean, you really... I
think he's one of the best wingers in Europe. Take Messi and Ronaldo out. I don't think there's much else out there.
On his day, yeah, but he's not consistent.
All on their day. I see Ronaldo have bad games as well. He's not...
Very rarely. I mean, you can't put Bale anywhere near that bracket. I mean, it's...
Well, Ronaldo cost 85 mil, didn't he? What did they pay Real Madrid? Something like that?
80, I think it was.
80, yeah. 100 million euros.
I'm sorry. If he's 80, then Bale's worth in his 45, 50s, without a question of doubt.
Okay, so he's half the player of Ronaldo. In an overinflated market. So, yeah,
well, it's the market price that drives it.
But I mean, again, the price of players. I mean, it's just absurd, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, look what Chelsea just did today. Was it 7 million for Demba Ba?
Yes, but that was part of the contract, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
That's a very, very good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exceptional.
But I mean, what was interesting when you look at the lack of options that Chelsea have had in the striking department up in for most of the season, that neither of the coaches really had the faith to put Sturridge, in the team.
And
well, I mean, and yet Liverpool are going to build their attack, around him and Suarez, and he's going to be the future of Liverpool. I mean, to me, it seems a very strange purchase from Liverpool to pay that sort of money for him.
Well, they're buying second-rate players. They have been buying second-rate players. But
and if I was a Liverpool
Sturridge
fan, to be honest, I'd be really, really disappointed because, when there's some, for example, there's Llorente available from Bilbao.
He's going to Juventus now, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, that to me,
everybody wants a piece of him. Don't
I
they?
mean, that to me is the sort of player that Liverpool Football Club should be.
They haven't got the money. They haven't got the money to spend 35 million on a player now. I don't think they've got the clout they used to have. And I'm going to disagree.
He's on a free.
Is he on a free?
Yeah, at the end of the season. I mean, they could get him for very little now because from Bilbao.
I honestly think that Sturridge is going to be a great success at Liverpool. I just think he's going to fit in that block, and I think they're going to be a better team with him. I really, really do.
You were saying that continental players are cheap. This one wasn't cheap for me. I think it was this morning or yet last night the deal was agreed. He's going back to Brazil. Alessandro Pato from AC Milan. He's only played 18 games in the last season and a half for AC due to injury, but he's also only 23 years old. 15 million euros. He's going back, he's going to Corinthians, the world club champions. That's a little bit too much money to pay for somebody that's only played 17 games in 2 years, don't you think?
Well, he has had a lot of injury problems, as you say, but and a lot of Brazilian football clubs are now not necessarily in the market to always necessarily sell their players. I mean, Brazil has a booming economy, and the clubs are getting wealthier and wealthier.
$52.8 million for Lucas Moura, a 20-year-old Brazilian, tremendous young talent. He's gone to PSG. Again, a massively overinflated price.
It's a hell of a lot of money. God. When was this one? When was this transaction?
This was done a couple of days ago. But Paris Saint-Germain just quite happily prepared to pay whatever.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, what's more interesting is the deals that are available, because there are a lot of clubs in Europe in severe financial problems, and especially here in Spain and in Portugal. I mean, Sporting Lisbon, Reading have just done, I think, one of the best deals of the winter transfer window in picking up Ricardo Carioca, who is an extremely accomplished defender. Already has played for Portugal. Was a mainstay of their under-21 team, and is highly rated. A very, very good player, and they've got him.
Where did he go?
He's gone to Reading.
To Reading. Okay.
Yeah. Another club here in Spain that's got financial problems is Sevilla, and there's some very, very good players in the Sevilla side, who I think would be a welcome addition to any of the Premiership clubs.
Did you see that Spurs signed the West German under-21 international and captain Lewis Holtby a couple of hours ago? I mean, I don't know the guy, but I was looking through it, and he seems to be a top class player. He's not joining us until the summer, but he's on a pre-contract.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one game of Schalke, and he certainly was one of the players that stood out. He looks a little, skillful, busy little midfielder, box-to-box player.
Well, I think that's a good signing. Also, we're not paying any money for him. He just joins on a new contract, which is good.
Manchester City are sure to spend some money of some kind during the January transfer window. Do you think they will be looking for a striker, Balotelli? And Mancini coming to blows again. I mean, how many more chances?
No, he's going to look
does Manchester
for
City and Balotelli have to? Mancini have to give this ignorant little child?
Well, the thing is, I think that the problem is,
it's not good for morale.
Training ground bust-ups, Dom. If you talk to any old pros, they'll tell you that they happen all the time.
Yeah, but Balotelli, strange things happen to him all the time.
The thing is, but the thing is that I should imagine that there are other training ground bust-ups which, because the press don't even bother covering. They're not even there. But because it's Balotelli and they know that there's going to be possibly a story, they're there on hand to film it.
Richard, he's done this so often this season. I mean, the guy's been involved in shocking things on the pitch, off the pitch. I mean, he must be a problem to have within the team, within the camp.
Well, if you go back to the days of Vinnie Jones, Vinnie Jones, had a terrible disciplinary record on the pitch, and
not within the club though. I think he was one of the guys in the club. I'm not sure Balotelli is.
Well, I know from people who actually played with him at Wimbledon that they trod carefully around him in training. That's for sure.
I just think Balotelli is really going to
send him the other way and bring in Falcao. That's what they want to do. They're one of the only clubs with the money to do so.
I think it's undermining Mancini as a manager. You can't take all this. Do you think Ferguson would take this? Could you imagine? He'd have him out that
Ferguson wouldn't have had him in the first place.
But also, the thing is, Ferguson has a slightly different style of management, and Mancini. I don't necessarily want to sort of, drop into national stereotypes, but, he is the typical caricature of, an angry Italian, arms waving, shouting and screaming at everyone, and that's his style of management.
I don't think Mancini will be there at the end of the season. I think this is his last.
He'd be great in a kind of like chaotic pizza parlour, shouting at all the staff. But I don't know whether it necessarily works for a football club. But anyway, we've talked about Mancini. I think he's a totally overrated manager. He's been very, very lucky in his career, and as Ferguson said, that was in regards to Chelsea, wasn't it? Any mug can do well at a club where you've got that sort of budget spend on players. And I think the same analogy applies to Man City as well.
Redknapp said that, didn't he, the other night?
Was it Redknapp?
Yeah, Redknapp said that. It's quite a strong thing to come out with, I thought, to the Chelsea manager.
Well, I don't think there's a great love between those two,
there's always been a little bit.
And the thing is that, I suppose, really sort of, in some ways... categorised Benitez's reign at Liverpool was the very poor relationships that he had with other managers. He wasn't, whereas Ferguson is loved by all the other managers.
Well, it's nice to be popular within your trade, isn't it? It's a nice feeling if you're a manager, and when you're meeting people, it's not so good. Some of these things that are banned about, it's bad reading, I think.
What else did you want to add that happened over the festive season, transfer-wise, that you might have heard? Do you want to stir any rumours that you might have heard before we go to commercial break?
Well, there's rumours all over the place. I want to mention Queen's Park Rangers because they have got 6 out of 15 points, which is better than a lot of the teams at the bottom, and there's only a 5-point gap now at the bottom, and, if anyone can get them out of trouble, Harry will, I'm sure. Newcastle, I'm really worried about them. I love the manager, but Pardew needs results badly, and 3 out of 15 points is pretty poor. And I can say, and he threatened the board today that if they don't give him money to buy, he says they're relegation candidates. I wouldn't like to have my manager saying that to me.
Didn't he just sign an 8-year deal?
He did. That's why he can say it.
I have to say, I think Aston Villa are in far greater peril than Newcastle.
My God, yeah, they conceded goals. They lost 8-0, as we said before. And Spurs went there and scored 4. Even Wigan went there.
I thought the most abject of their losses, though, was the home game against Wigan.
Yes, to go down so easy against the team also in the bottom. And yet Wigan have also done so badly. They've also only had 3 from 15 points over the holidays, not playing well. And Martinez has got the same thing happen again as happens every year. He gets them out of it the last couple of games.
I think they'll be all right, Wigan.
They look a good outfit, but...
They've played some really good football,
but
really
Richard,
good football.
They've lost games by the odd goal, 3-2-1s over the Christmas holidays, but you're still going to win games.
And I'll tell you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this young Chilean striker they've signed on loan from Man United, Angelo... Enriquez, is it? Or
do you know much about him?
Well, other than that, he had an absolute... I think he played for Universidad Católica in Chile, and he had a phenomenal strike rate in his first season, which was, and he which brought him to the attention of Man United, and also playing for the under-21s, Chilean under-21s, and I think for the under-21s, Chilean under-21s, he averages a goal a game. So, he's a seriously hot prospect.
On the transfer market, Wilfried Zaha, everyone's talking about, the Crystal Palace kid. I mean, he's supposed to be absolutely brilliant. Well, he is. I've seen him several times. He is a tremendous player. I mean, someone's got to come in and buy him, surely.
Well, they're saying that it's a done deal with Man United and that he's going to stay at Crystal Palace till the end of the season.
Gentlemen, we have to go to a commercial break. We're going to finish the show off with a little bit of look ahead. Serie A is back on the agenda after the winter break. So is La Liga. So Malaga's back in action after that great victory against Real Madrid. And we have the FA Cup as well. We need to go to a commercial break because it looks like Richard needs to go to the toilet, actually.
And the American football, Dom.
And the NFL as well, which we've got to be doing. OK, Rich, you can go to the bathroom now.
Passes it to Tomato. Tomato dribbles it past Mozzarella and loses it to Beefy. Beefy runs with it, goes on the counter-attack of Beefy, and Beefy scores and the crowd goes wild!
It's the Friday Sports Bar on Talk Radio Europe with Dom Aldworth.
Well, welcome back to the Friday Night Sports Bar. Just a quick wrap-up of some of the other sports that have been taking place over the last couple of days. On the cricket pitches in South Africa, the first test match between New Zealand and South Africa was all one-way traffic. South Africa wrapped it up within 3 days by an innings and 27 runs. Vernon Philander destroying the Black Caps in the first innings with 5 for 7, skittling them for just 47 runs. One of the lowest totals, I think, certainly since 1974, I think it was. So top-class performance there by South Africa. New Zealand really struggling in that series without their captain Ross Taylor, who resigned just before the series began. Very good win for Pakistan in India in a 3 one-day international series. They won that 2-1. Nazir Jazmed scoring 2 consecutive hundreds to wrap up the series for Pakistan with an 85-run win in Kolkata. So the Pakistanis there doing particularly well in the shorter format, something that we know they've achieved over the last several years as well. Some good young fast bowling talent coming through there as well, Rich. But we won't talk about that at the moment. They will be in action in a test series against South Africa coming up in about 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll get a better look at their young fast bowling talent that are coming through.
I'm really looking forward to that series against South Africa because I think that they're going to provide the South Africans with a really, really good test, which is certainly not what New Zealand are providing South Africa with at the moment.
Well, I think the only problem that subcontinent sides have had when they've gone to the likes of Australia and South Africa are the wickets that they face with. In the subcontinent, they're low, they're slow, it's very conducive for spin bowling. When you're dealing with a pace attack like, obviously, the Wacker, Newlands, which we saw there, the ball was moving all over the place. Durban, of course, is a very quick, bouncy track. The batsman can't cope with the sheer pace and the bounce of the ball.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, you know, a lot of the Pakistani spinners are wrist spinners. And, just by the very nature of their action, they get, considerably more purchase on the ball. And they can use that to their advantage on those South African wickets. And certainly, both Stuart McGill and Shane Warne had a very good record in South Africa.
They've got 2 young left-arm fast bowlers that are coming through now, 2021. One of them is 7'2", which is highly unusual. You wouldn't expect from, India, Sri Lanka or South Africa. But the fact that they are left-arm, they do bowl a little bit of pace. They might be able to give the Proteas a little bit of their own medicine.
Well, I mean, one only has to recall the mastery of Wasim Akram. Some sort of 10.
Wasim Akram. I mean, Wasim Akram. That's what everybody around the world has called him. Wasim Akram. Wasim Akram. What on earth is that?
Sorry. Well, that's the Pakistani fellow who used to bowl left-armers.
Well, one of the greatest fast bowlers of all time. Left-armer. Yeah, but his name is Wasim Akram, not Wasim Akram. I mean, come on. You never cease to amaze me with your... I don't know, maybe you need elocution lessons or something.
So I was just trying to give due deference to the Pakistani names there, Dominic.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, have you finished? Would you like to throw another one in there? I don't know.
Yeah, Waqar Younis.
Yeah, okay, you can get Waqar Younis, yeah. Okay, say Imran Khan.
Imran Khan.
Imran Khan.
Well, you're grinning at me, looking at me as though you want me to be dafter with every word. You're just egging me on, you see. I don't need very much encouragement to do this.
We know you're an educated, well-spoken man, but I mean, come on, occasionally, yeah, of course. Tennis action has begun. I'm really excited about this. I love my tennis. The Australian Open begins in about 7 days' time. Can Andy Murray make it to the Australian Open final? No Rafael Nadal, unfortunately. That's the sad news. He was supposed to make his comeback last week at the Mubadala World Tennis Championships, but unfortunately...
That well-known international tournament.
Well, it's an exhibition, isn't it, with some of the top players. And great shame that Rafael Nadal, he hasn't hit a tennis ball since his second-round exit, I think it was, at Wimbledon more than 6 months ago. It opens a door for the likes of David Ferrer, of course, who's never won a Grand Slam, Andy Murray to secure a second. Novak Djokovic is the favourite and defending champion. Roger Federer will not have any preparation going into the Australian Open. He's decided against that. He's practising down under and spending a bit of time with his family. But one man who seems to be getting his game back on track is Andy Murray. Today, he's looking for back-to-back titles, let's not forget, at Brisbane, which he won with Ivan Lendl, his first tournament as coach a year ago. They've certainly come a long way in 12 months. Pretty comfortable win there against Denis Aitsoman from Uzbekistan, 6-4, 7-6 today for Andy Murray. He now moves through to the semi-finals, where he'll be taking on Japanese superstar. This guy is regarded already at the age of 23 as the greatest tennis player to come out of Japan. Kai Nishikori, he is the number 5 seed in the tournament, and he got through, so he'll be facing Andy Murray in the semi-finals. And the other semi-final is Marcus Baghdatis. I don't know if you remember him from Cyprus. 2008, I think it was, Australian Open runner-up. He seems to have found some form, dispatching of Gilles Simon, and he'll be taking on Gregor Dimitrov from Bulgaria. I hope I didn't get Dimitrov from Bulgaria. That is in Brisbane. In Auckland, Agnieszka Radwanska will face Vic Meyer in the final of Auckland. Plenty of tennis going on all around. Li Na is through to the final in China, obviously her hometown, former French Open champion from 2010, and she'll be taking on, I'm going to struggle to pronounce this one, should I give it a go? Nikoslu Zapalakopova Papalapopo. Okay, well there you go, but Li Na looking very good as well, some good form on the hard courts being shown by her, more known for her clay court and French, from a French Open victory there. Also taking place on the ladies' draw in Brisbane, it was a walkover for Serena Williams. She was supposed to take on world number 1 Victoria Azarenka in the semi-finals today. That would have been a great encounter because they are the 2 best players on the planet, probably bar Maria Sharapova at this stage. Unfortunately, Azarenka was forced to pull out due to her injury in preparation for the Australian Open. So Serena Williams walks through comfortably there into the final. She's going for her 47th title, and she's going to be taking on Pavlyuchenkova. And she's got a 3-1. Pavlyuchenkova, incidentally, actually, has got a 3-1 head-to-head against Serena Williams. Not many women in the tennis courts can say that, Rich.
No.
You can't say anything.
Sorry, I just
you couldn't say anything.
Had a soporific moment there. No, absolutely, Dom. But Stu, I'm sure you'd like to comment on that as well.
Well, Serena Williams, I mean, 47 titles. I mean, last year she only lost in the second half of the season. I think she went... was it 53? She only lost 3 matches out of 53.
Well, you certainly wouldn't want to go head-to-head with her.
No, absolutely not. No, you would definitely come off second best. There's no doubt about it. The tennis action also continues in Doha for the ExxonMobil Qatar Masters and in Chennai as well. Plenty of tennis going on. And the final was decided today. The final lineup, should I say. Richard Gasquet, the number 3 seed, will take on former world number 5, Nikolai Davydenko, who's been out in the wilderness, really, for the last couple of years due to injury. But I actually watched him today dispatching of David Ferrer, who enjoyed the world number 5, who enjoyed his best ATP Tour season last year with 6 tournament wins. And Davydenko was absolutely in top-class form. A previous winner, I think, in 2008 at Qatar. Richard Gasquet is going to find it very difficult to defeat him tomorrow, but that is the final lineup in Qatar. And in the Chennai tournament, the ATP Chennai Open, the semi-finals have been decided. Beden will be taking on Janko Tipsarevic, and Benoit Poir, very good young talent, this French kid, will be taking on, I think it was Thomas Berdych. They were playing, he was still in action just before we came live on air, but I was assuming that Berdych was going to go through there. So lots and lots of tennis to be taking place now, leading up to the Australian Open. You look like you want to say something, Rich. I don't know, you're moving around the microphone and...
Well, I'm just amazed that there are so many just insignificant tennis tournaments going on around.
Well, they're
the
not
world.
Insignificant. It's the beginning of the season, and they're all in preparation for the Australian Open.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that people are interested in when it comes to the semi-finals, isn't it? And how Andy Murray does.
Well, how can you say that? I'm interested in it.
Are you? Can we talk about something interesting now?
Well, let's talk about... Yeah, should we talk about something interesting, actually? Yeah. I feel very sorry for Miguel Angel Jimenez. Did you hear what happened to him the other day? He broke his leg skiing. He's going to be out for several months. 6 months, in fact. Did you not hear that?
Where was he skiing?
It doesn't say where he was skiing. I don't really care that he was where he was skiing. The fact of the matter is, that's pretty much his season gone.
Yeah.
I mean, especially at his age as well. I mean,
yeah, because,
the
snow ends in April, doesn't it?
The snow ends in April.
The skiing season you talk about?
No, I'm talking about it. Miguel Angel Jimenez will not be featuring, certainly for the first 6 months, on the European Golf Tour, and he certainly won't be featuring on the European
he hadn't
Skiing
changed
Tour either. Shall we play a little bit of dramatic music? Shall we see if we can get this going? Let's see if I can get this.
Is this going to be followed by you doing something dramatic? Is it?
There we go. Do you like that? Have you heard this song before? Oh, I'm getting all excited. It's playoff time in America in the NFL football.
At last!
Eh?
At last!
This is it. You know, for those of you that don't know an awful lot about NFL, trust me, it's a great sport, very easy to get into. We've seen the NFL brand coming to Wembley over the last several years as well, with great success. This year, the New England Patriots thrashed the St. Louis Rams, in fact, in front of about 85,000 people. The playoffs begin tomorrow. And let's have a little chat. I just love this dramatic music. Should we have a little look through, Rich, as to who got through? We got the AFC division winners, which were Baltimore, Denver Broncos, who are now under the guidance of the arm of Peyton Manning at the age of 35, who's been in unbelievable form. Peyton Manning, of course, he is an MVP and a former winner of the Super Bowl. $85 million they paid for him, just out of interest, for the next 4 years, and he certainly has proved his worth. So you've got Baltimore in the AFC division winners, Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, the Houston Texans, and the New England Patriots. In the AFC wildcard teams that got through, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals, Indianapolis Colts. On the NFC division winners, you've got the Atlanta Falcons, who went 9-0, actually 9 games unbeaten before their first loss was inflicted on them. I remember watching that against the New Orleans Saints. Green Bay Packers, we all know that they've got a great history in the Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Redskins, they were their division winners. NFC wildcard teams to get involved there now are Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. So those are the teams through this weekend.
But what's interesting, Dominic, one of the games last week is a rerun of the game that's going to occur this week, which is Minnesota versus Green Bay.
Absolutely. And we were talking...
Yeah, and the thing is, what's interesting about, because often people talk about, the advantage of home field. And one of the things that people may not be familiar with is that a winter in Wisconsin is absolutely freezing cold and not necessarily very conducive to a passing game. And in the old days, Green Bay were always known for their running game. And that's changed over the last season or two, and now they're predominantly...
Well, last 4 or 5 seasons, when you had Brett Favre was there as well. He had a great arm. And, of course, you've got Aaron Rodgers, who is the leading quarterback in the country at the moment.
But... they're playing at Lambeau Field this weekend, and Minnesota, their great strength is in their running game, and conditions, even though they're going to be away from home, are going to suit Minnesota. And also, they just won last weekend as well.
Big question marks against the Minnesota quarterback, Christian Ponder, who's suffering from an elbow injury. He might not be involved, but they do have the rushing leader in the NFL this season, Adrian Peterson, who we spoke very, very briefly about last year. He was going for the record. He fell 8 yards short he fell. He still did a career best 199 yards and 34 carries against Green Bay last weekend. He is going to be the main threat for the Green Bay Packers.
What would you mean for the Minnesota Vikings?
For the main threat towards the Green Bay Packers,
exactly. And one of the big matchups is going to be Clay Matthews, who's the outside linebacker for Green Bay, and can he stop the running machine, which is Adrian Peterson? And when you look at that Eric Dickerson record set in, I think, 1985. It's one that many pundits never really expected to be beaten. And because, very often, the running backs don't get that much possession. But many people say that, one of the reasons that, he's been able to get close to that record is because they don't really have anyone else in the backfield, who can put in the same hard yardages. So if Clay Matthews can stop Adrian Peterson, then I think Green Bay might win.
Minnesota come into this with a 4-match winning streak. I think home advantage might just suit down to Green Bay. Also on Saturday...
Not with the conditions, Dom. It's going to be cold and snowing.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And it's hard to... as you know, playing rugby, when it's cold...
It's very difficult to play rugby in the cold extreme.
No, but trying to catch the ball, it's harder to catch the ball.
Other matches that are going to be taking place as well this weekend, Rich. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Houston Texans, who had a very good regular season. Andy Dalton, the quarterback for the Bengals. J.J. Watt is the leading sacker. Now, that's the defensive lineman that actually gets through the offense line to grab hold of that quarterback and stop him from doing any damage. J.J. Watt is the leader in the NFL with that, so that's going to be a very interesting battle. Then on Sunday as well, you've got the Seattle Seahawks versus the Washington Redskins. Now, this, for me, is a battle between two rookie quarterbacks that have taken their sides to the playoff. You've got Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks and the guy they call RG3 from the Washington Redskins. This guy is an absolute phenomenon, both of them in their first seasons in NFL, and that, for me, is one of the big clashes of the weekend.
Well, he was very, very impressive in the win against the Cowboys, and the thing is, he has the speed, or he did at one stage, to be considered for the American Olympic 400-meter team. So, I mean, plus he has a great arm, and as you say, it's a tremendous, tremendous prospect for the future. However, he's up against probably the one of the toughest defences in the league, Dominic.
He is. Unfortunately, they're coming in with 7 straight victories, the Redskins. They are at home as well. Again, it's crucial in NFL, as we've spoken about before. But Seattle have got a great home record. They don't travel particularly well, but I just think it's going to be whoever can play better out of those two rookie quarterbacks. And there's a couple of other players as well that to keep an eye on. Alfred Morris, who's a rookie running back as well for Washington. He's been in superb form and been very much the heartbeat of the offensive line there for Washington. And then you've got Marshawn Lynch as well. Now, Marshawn Lynch is a giant of a man. He's the one that does the hard yards for Seattle. Again, a very interesting battle.
Well, I mean, he is a behemoth of a man. I mean, and the fact that someone that big and powerful can run at the speed he does is phenomenal. I mean, I certainly would not want to be trying to tackle him, Dominic.
Well, I think you're going out on a date with him, aren't you, this weekend? Isn't that the person you're going on a date with? Guys, sorry, we have to rush on because we've got one more commercial break and we've still got football to get through. There is that one last game as well this weekend, and that's the Indianapolis Colts versus the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco, the quarterback there for the Ravens. Andrew Luck, who's a rookie quarterback who's had a superb season himself. Torrey Smith, who I interviewed earlier in the season, he'll be there on the wings, hoping to combine with Joe Flacco successfully, as they have done all season. So that's NFL. We'll bring you up to speed next week ahead of the next round of playoffs. Who won, who lost. Rich, thanks for your contribution on that one.
We're going to give a little tip as to who we think is going to win which games?
I'm pretty much going to go home advantage all through. I had a look at those this morning. I'm going to go for the Green Bay Packers against the Vikings. I'm going to go for the Redskins over the Seahawks, simply because the Seahawks don't travel very well. The Ravens over the Colts, and the Houston Texans over the Cincinnati Bengals.
Interesting. Well, certainly on the first two, I'm going to go against you, Dominic. I think Minnesota are going to beat Green Bay again. And I think the Seahawks might just do it against the Redskins.
Watch this space. We'll know the answers. We'll know some of the answers tomorrow, and we'll know some of the rest of them on Monday.
And also the Cincinnati defense to totally snuff out the Houston Texan offense as well.
Oh, that's a very, very bold point, mate. Very bold point. But we're going to go to
best
a commercial
defense
break.
in the league.
Best defense in the league. Best defense, and Andy Dalton's having a good season with the ball in hand as well. Anyway, see the other side of this.
It's the Friday Sports Bar with Dom Ordworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, welcome back to the last couple of minutes of the show. Thank you very much for your call there in the break, Liz. We'll have to before I say anything about that on air, I'm going to do my research on that Manny Pacquiao story that you mentioned. But thanks very much for your call on that one. Guys, we've only got a couple of minutes left, Stu. I know you've prepared some more football. Quick look ahead this morning. FA Cup, La Liga, Serie A.
Well, very briefly, Malaga, we must talk about just quickly. They're playing Deportivo La Coruña tomorrow, and they're at the bottom of the table. Malaga in fourth. We wish
Is that
Malaga the
6
best
o'clock kickoff?
I don't know. I know it's tomorrow. I haven't got enough time here.
I'm pretty sure that's an early, or 7 o'clock, is it? So that's 6 or 7 o'clock.
I'm sure it's live on the station.
But it's live on the station, and the listeners really should, if they've never heard Malaga Football Club and TRE covering it, it's a superb...
TRE, PBT, Malaga Football Club, excellent.
Absolutely,
Listen to Paul Breen-Turner is absolutely a great afternoon's entertainment, and Chris also, who does a lot of the commentary with Kenny. It's a great afternoon's entertainment, so I agree with you. You should listen in. It's FA Cup day today, tomorrow. Do you want to go over any of the matches?
Yeah, what do you do?
Well,
talk us through them,
There's some great games. Brighton Championship team are playing Newcastle, which should be a great game. Crawley from Division 1 are playing Reading, which should be a good game. Crystal Palace and Stoke. Luton and Wolves. Luton from the Conference League. Macclesfield from the Conference League against Cardiff. Manchester City are playing Watford. Middlesbrough playing Hastings. We're from the Rotherhams, from the Isthmian League. Peterborough and Norwich. We've got QPR and West Brom. Premier, 2 teams from the Premier. Southampton and Chelsea should be a great game. West Ham and Manchester United, probably the match of the round. Looking forward to that tomorrow afternoon. And on Sunday, Swansea, Arsenal, Mansfield, also from the conference against Liverpool, and Cheltenham playing Everton. So there's some great games to look forward to, and that one's on Monday night.
Serie A, did you mention Serie A?
I didn't.
That's the winter break's finished, isn't it? As well. I mean, Juventus, they're 8 points clear, 9 points clear.
Yeah, they're 8 points clear.
They've
that
got
continues.
Fiorentina this weekend, haven't they?
Yes, there's some good games. Obviously, the season gets back together. Juventus got Sampdoria at home.
Sampdoria.
Yeah, Napoli are playing Roma at home. Fiorentina, Pescara, Lazio, Cagliari. I mean, some good games. Inter Milan are away to Udinese. And watch Milan, because they're picking up points. And also, just briefly, Prince Boateng of Milan walked off yesterday.
Well, this was something that Liz gave a ring in and mentioned to me during the course of the break, and I hadn't actually picked up on the story, and just tell us exactly what happened.
There was racial. It was only a friendly game. Milan were playing. There was some racial abuse, and he was getting it for about 20 minutes of the game. And he turned around. He turned